Hey guys, welcome back to the DM and Friends. I am DM Angelo, and today I'm covering the Healer class, all the way back from issue number 3 of Dragon Magazine, which was written in 1976, in October of 1976, by a gentleman named C. Hettlestad. That's Hettlestad. Hettlestad. I hope I pronounced that right. So he wrote this article, The Healer. And so I want to go through it. I want to talk about, why he did it, and kind of put it in perspective of the timing of this too. And I also want to give you guys some information too, because it was reprinted in Dragon Magazine, Best of Dragon Magazine, Volume 2. So let's get right into it. So an interesting fact about this, in Dragon Magazine 3, he created this class and came out in an article in there. And I think this is one of the very first classes that was introduced in Dragon. You know, I could be wrong about that, but this is one of the earliest, right? And the interesting fact about that was, it was a very small article, and it didn't even include XP track or hit die or anything like that. It was very bare bones with just spell tables and a couple descriptions and the paragraphs he wrote, which is not much, to be honest with you. But Best of Dragon, actually they added this to the article, which is really cool because I saw on the forums in Dragon's Foot, and it's kind of a huge debate that went on for years about whether or not the reason why that they didn't add the XP table in there for issue number 3 was. And so a lot of people, debated and said, they didn't add it there just because to save space in the magazine. So interesting fact. But Best of Dragon Volume 2 does have it right here, which helps out quite a bit if you're going to use it, obviously. But so I want to kind of put it in perspective. This was 1970. I'm primarily AD&D, right? So, but I have used this class specifically. I think the Healer class really ports really easily into AD&D. Obviously, it does, and especially what they did with it in Best of Dragon, Volume 2. But this was 1976 October. So, think about it. The Player's Handbook hadn't even come out. OD&D was only 2 years old. The Dungeon Master Guide doesn't even come out until 4 years later. This is pure raw OD&D era homebrew that C. Hettlestad did. And what problem was he trying to solve? If you think about it, back in 76, right? The sheer grit of the game back then. You weren't running a modern cozy 5-player narrative arc, right? You were running a mega dungeon that was a meat grinder. Healing resource allocation was a devastating bottleneck. You had 12 players at the table. It sounds like my early 80s games. And everybody was dying every 5 minutes, right? Battles were devastating. Characters died all the time. And, if you had a cleric, that Cure Light Wound spell he had was precious. So, Hettlestad, I think, frames it very quick, why he did this. I guess, let me just back up a little bit. He talks about, and I'm going to read this right out of here, because right out the gate, the very beginning of this, he says, healers, as the name implies, are designed to allow rapid repair of other characters in large campaign games. Basically, the healer is a combination of a magic user and cleric with a dash of fighter, right? However, the healer has a set of spells exclusive to the class, and I'm going to go over that list too. although most of them can be found in other lists, right? And the healer is not allowed to change class at any time of his own volition. So let's talk about some of the mechanics here, right? So basic prerequisites for the healer is a minimum score. I mean, this is hard to qualify for. 15 in all the stats of intelligence, wisdom, and dexterity, right? I mean, super hard to qualify. Healers can only be neutral or lawful. That's another thing, and he'll get right into this. Check this out. The chaotic healer is not possible, and the healer would become a mere fighter if forced to change to that alignment. On the third paragraph, he says, healers may not wear any armor or carry any shield, but they may use any weapons. Interesting, right? And may use and be affected by any magical items, right? The various magical books, librams, and tomes to be found will not aid the healer in any way or can only be harmful. That's interesting too, right? So, let me see. Special abilities are, and I'll get into their special abilities as, they progress in level. I do want to talk about the added part that the Best of Dragon did. So, because this wasn't here, right? So a healer has a D8 hit die. Very interesting, right? So they're not like they're kind of like a cleric, right? They're not like a magic user, even though that he states that in the beginning. But a D8 is pretty good. I mean, that's pretty awesome for a first level character, right? And they have titles of like apprentice, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, intern, resident, senior resident, practitioner, medic, and name level is a doctor at 11, right? So to be a second level healer is 5,000 XP. So pretty hardcore. And they start out their spell level, and I'll place this up here really quick if you guys can kind of see this. Their XP track. Their spell progression is pretty awesome too. Well, not awesome, but pretty tough. First level, they only get a first level spell. Second level, same thing. Third level, and I think this has got to be a misprint because at third level, they get a first, second, and a third. So there must be missing a 1 in here for level 2. But let me bring that up here too. So they must have missed a 1 there. But so actually, it's pretty good progression. So at third level, they're doing third level spells, and at 7th level, they're doing 1 7th level spell. So wow, that's actually I didn't really even notice that. That's actually pretty crazy. So let me get down to some of their abilities here. So at 4th level, and name you too, at 4th level, they're a junior, and they are casting 4th level spells, which we'll get into that list really quick in a minute here. But, at 4th level, the healer can detect molds, slimes, etc. at a 40-foot distance. Pretty crazy, right? At 8th level, the healer can identify general types of potions. At 12th level, the healer can read magic user and clerical scrolls. At 16th level, the healer can use 4 first-level magic user spells in addition to the healer spells listed above. So I think at higher levels, they start getting, into the magic users list. And, it's just magic user list. And 20th level, they can use 4 second level magic user spells. So, that's 20th level, obviously, right? And if you play in any of my games, you're not reaching that. But anyways, healers, and here's the racial stuff too. So this is really cool too. Healers can be of the human, dwarf, halfling, half-elf, and elf races. Dwarven healers are limited to level 10. While halfling, half-elves, and elves can rise only to 14th level. So he gave some level caps there. So very cool. Yeah, I suggest getting this article. I'm not going to read it verbatim. I kind of have read it verbatim, but you should check this out. And then here's the spell list. it's very interesting. Like, you know, the absolute heart of this class is its 7th level spell list, right? Which together kind of stitches together elements of arcane utility, right? And divine restoration, right? So, you know, into something totally unique. Like, and I'll get to these, but the level 1, right? Level 1 spell list is I've kind of put these together as kind of a interesting stepping stones as I see how they're done, right? So level 1 spells, I would classify them as kind of diagnosis phase, right? So detect magic, detect evil, detect poison, detect disease, detect invisibility, and then there's another one, detect phase, right? Which is a spell to find secreted treasure hidden by out of phase equipment spells. Find creatures that are out of phase. Very interesting, kind of like the diagnostic phase, right? And then you get into like level 2 and 3, right? So at second level, there's immediate integration, right, into kind of clerical kind of stuff, like neutralize poison, cure disease, slow, haste, invisibility, purify food and drink, speak with dead, cure serious wounds, ESP, animate dead. I mean, they have a gnarly spell list. These guys are pretty crazy casters. And then 4th and 5th, you know, kind of like kind of counters, it introduces like flesh, stone to flesh, fly, a spell called energy, which uses spell will restore 1 life level of a character who loses it from energy drain, right? And so that's crazy. At 4th level spell, he's able to cast that literally at 4th level, 15,000 XP. Crazy, 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 right? Level driven is horrifying, right? Terrifying. So a campaign killing mechanic in the 70s, right? And then you also get things like cure lycanthropy, right? That's huge, right? 5th level unlocks Raise Dead, Teleport, Longevity, which that's an interesting spell. Longevity removes 10 years from the age of a character the spell is cast upon. So anything like from a ghost attack, right? So these are all like counter stuff. The more I kind of look at this is a pretty OP class. Now, let's get into the 6th and 7th level spells. So you have Improved Curious Wounds, right? Which is, this spell will cure a 4d6 worth of damage, which with the bonus of 1 point per die. So that's 8 to 28 points of damage it can cure. There's Clone, Water Breathing, Speak with Plants, Speak with Animals, Speak with Monsters. And then these are the 7th level ones. So check this out. Sterilize. This spell will cleanse any room of any infection or rid any mold, slime, or other nasty creature with up to 5 hit die. Neutralize gas. Blade barrier. We know what that is. Remove curse. Remove charm. Cure deafness. Wow, right? Those spells are, it's a pretty awesome spell list, right? And then when they get super, super high level, they kind of go into magic user stuff and all that. So let's talk about, how we can kind of use this in our campaign. I came up with 3 ideas that I think are, kind of cool. Because this class was kind of back in, from 1976, dropping it into your modern, OSR campaign, create some incredible story arcs, maybe I came up with this one right here, maybe the fallen combatant, right? So, maybe, introduce your players to a cynical kind of fighter NPC, right, wandering the borderlands. Though through careful investigation, the party discovers this man was, once a legendary master healer, that broke his vows, right? And now he's a 8-hit die fighter. He slid into chaos during a brutal war or something like that. You could easily add that to somebody that they meet or a backstory, right? What about a plague? Okay, so instead of a typical dungeon crawl for gold, design an adventure around the 7th level spell Sterilize, right? Regional vault of maybe an underground settlement was opened up and is completely overrun by a lethal yellow mold or something like that, infectious slime. That maybe the entire party's mission is to escort this healer to cast Sterilize it, and this plague is coming from they found the place of origin, right? So what about established a specialized non-denominational medical kind of sanctuary or along the borderlands, and you're protecting this healer and bringing him to there to establish his temple. Or maybe domain play. A healer comes to your area, wants to form this, set up this hospital. Those are kind of some ways you can bring them into your campaign, right? So, I guess in closing, my final verdict on this, the healer is kind of a very powerful NPC, and if you choose to use it as a player character, I could see this totally being a player character in a campaign. I know I've used them before, and they didn't get really higher in level, and kind of I think the player I had died pretty quickly. But the healer's kind of a fascinating, unpolished jewel in my opinion. From the very dawn of our hobby, wears its kind of rough edges. And actually pretty freaking powerful. And you can run this at your table tonight. I think it's an easy add, and DMs, maybe you kind of tailor it down a little bit. Maybe you change the spell progression, but easy add to any campaign. And the fact that they have a D8 hit die, God, makes them very fighter-esque, even though they can't wear armor. So, God, that's a tough one with a D8. The design philosophy I think is pretty beautiful. It gives us a character, completely alters the tactical pacing of old school dungeons. If you have one of these guys with you in a dungeon, by leaning into kind of diagnosis, protection, utility, it's a direct window, I think, into, when D&D stopped being just a set of rules in the box and started becoming kind of living, right? And it can breed landscape back into your individual table. Somebody be a healer. Tell me about it. Yeah. Well, I want to know your guys' thoughts on this. Have any of you guys read the Dragon 3 article or picked up the Best of Dragon article? And have you ever had it in one of your campaigns? Have you ever used it as an NPC? I'd love to hear from you guys if you've allowed any players to become this class. Drop your ideas and comments in below, and let's talk about it. Let's go back and forth. So you guys, if you enjoyed this trip down our Dragon Magazine memory lane, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and consider becoming a member if you do choose to. And also, if you're watching on mobile, hit that hype button. And yeah, guys, I'd love to hear from you. So anyways, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. Game on, and bye-bye.